Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 7th City Council meeting. Ms. Hilbert, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Councilman De La Garza?
I am present.
Councilwoman Solis?
Here.
Councilwoman Scott?
Here.
Councilman Lofgren?
Here.
And Mayor Crocker?
Here.
And Mayor Pro Tem Young will not be joining us this evening.
Thank you. Will you please join me for the pledges and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. All right, welcome again, everyone. We have a full house tonight, lots of folks. I will turn it over then to Mr. Garza for announcements and reminders.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I do have several announcements for you this evening. On behalf of the City Secretary's office, we want to convey that we will be holding a special City Council meeting on Tuesday, May 14th to canvass the results of the runoff election for Council District 3. All council members, however, from Districts 1 through 4 will be sworn in at the May 21st meeting. And so again, to be clear, our special meeting next week is solely for the canvassing of the results of the election. And then at our second May regular meeting on the 21st will be the swearing in of the council members. And on the 21st would be Councilwoman Solis's last council meeting. And so that's when we plan the party.
All right.
On the 21st. So on behalf of the police department, on Saturday, May 18th at 7:30 a.m., the Victoria Police Foundation will hold their inaugural Foot Pursuit 5K and Donut Dash. For more information, which I want more information about these donuts, and to register, the public can visit victoriapolicefoundation.org. On behalf of the Parks Department, we're pleased to announce the opening of Ethel Lee Tracy Splash Pad. As you may recall, this was a splash pad that experienced some pretty significant issues last year, and we've been able to address those. Mike 18 will actually speak briefly to that as part of one of his presentations today. But in any case, we've completed those improvements, and we welcome all citizens to now enjoy all 3 splash pad locations for the summer. And we've also made some pretty significant operational changes to ensure that what we experienced last year, we don't experience again. On a much sadder note, as many of you know, we have lost a couple of great community members recently. I know the mayor plans to address one of them in a few minutes, but I want to speak to a former fire chief that recently passed away. Former Fire Chief Henry Yankee passed away this Sunday. He was our Victoria Fire Chief from 1978 to 1994. We thank him for his service and certainly send our condolences to his family. We know a lot of them are still in the Victoria area. I know Councilmember De La Garza served with him, and so we're keeping them in our prayers. For those interested, visitation will be on Monday, May 13th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Grace Funeral Home. Our Victoria Fire Department Honor Guard and others will be present to help honor our former fire chief's life. The Bureau will be held on Tuesday, May 14th at noon at Woodlawn Cemetery in Houston. And like I mentioned, some of members of our fire department personnel will be present to show the adequate respect for our former fire chief. Those are the announcements I have this evening, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we will move on to item B2, which is public and employee recognitions. Ms. Hilbert, will you help me with B2A, Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month Proclamation?
Yes, sir. Whereas today's society is finding more citizens involved in motorcycling on the roads of our country, and whereas motorcyclists are roughly unprotected and therefore more prone to injury or death in a crash than other vehicle drivers, and whereas campaigns have helped inform riders and motorists alike on motorcycle safety issues to reduce motorcycle-related risks, injuries, and most of all, fatalities, through a comprehensive approach to motorcycle safety, and whereas it is the responsibility of all who put themselves behind the wheel to become aware of motorcyclists, regarding them with the same respect as other vehicles, traveling the highways of this country, and it is the responsibility of riders and motorists alike to obey all traffic laws and safety rules. And whereas it is important to urge all citizens of our community to become aware of the inherent danger involved in operating a motorcycle, and for riders and motorcyclists alike to give each other the mutual respect they deserve, now therefore I, Duane Crocker, Mayor of the City of Victoria, Texas, designate the month of May 2024 as Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month in Victoria, Texas, and urge all residents to do their part to increase safety and awareness in our community. This proclamation is dedicated to the memory of Bo Meyer, who tragically lost his life in a motorcycle accident on December 5th, 2023.
Talking to this thing. On behalf of Crossroads Chapter, we'd like to thank the City of Victoria for the proclamation, and we'll be giving it to the Meyer family in memory of Bo Meyer, gone but not forgotten.
Thank you very much. Then our next item, I believe, is another proclamation, Public Service Recognition Week.
Yes, sir. Whereas the people of the City of Victoria are served every single day by public servants at every level in the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government. These unsung heroes do the work that keeps our community working, and whereas public employees take not only jobs, but oaths to perform their jobs to the best of their ability. And whereas public servants, including military, reserve personnel, police officers, firefighters, correction officers, doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals, and others risk their lives each day in service to the people of the City of Victoria. And whereas public servants, including teachers, social workers, administrators, computer technicians, laborers, and countless other occupations day in and day out provide with efficiency and integrity the diverse services demanded of their government by the people of the City of Victoria. And whereas these public servants at every level, without these public services at every level, continuity would be impossible in a democracy that regularly changes its leaders and elected officials. And now therefore I, Duane Crocker, Mayor of the City of Victoria, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th through 11th, 2024 as Public Service Recognition Week. All citizens of the City of Victoria encouraged to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of all hardworking and deserving public employees of the City of Victoria, Texas.
Can I get the executive leadership team and members of the Employee Helping Employees Committee to come up?
Hey, you blocking my view.
Oh, sorry, I see you.
Why you not up there?
Hey, Chief, how you doing?
Do you know what's in there? I need to show you. There's stuff in there that I didn't expect. Did you see what was in your bag? No. There's rum in there. Look in your bag. There's Bacardi rum in there.
It's just a bottle.
Huh?
Actually, don't you need to be in there too? Yes. Take that picture.
Little bottles.
Maybe behind Lisa, in between her and Joel. And Daryl. Danielle. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
I will, yeah.
You will be.
Come here, let me show you something.
Okay. All right. I've been given the signal to stretch my remarks out for 5 minutes. 5 full minutes, yeah. In any case, Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you so much for this recognition. This is a very special week for us here at the city. Just a few years ago, we began to be more intentional with celebrating this week. We felt that it was important to take some extra time to thank the dedicated people of our organization that truly are the ones that make the sacrifices and put in the hard work to really make Victoria a better place to live. This week in particular, we've been going around visiting all the different departments. I've been joking that we've been breaking tortillas because we've been taking breakfast tacos, but we've been breaking tortillas with our employees this week to really just spend some quality time with them in a more intimate setting, just thanking them for their service. It's I wish that we had the time, and we'll certainly make it a point to do something like this more frequently throughout the year. But this week in particular is very special for us. This Thursday, we will have a big employee recognition luncheon. Of course, members of council are invited to that. We've been doing that for the last few years, and so we look forward to having you there and look forward to, in this instance, breaking bread on Thursday with all of our employees. And so again, thank you so much for the recognition, for your support, more importantly, and I'll see you around. So thank you.
Thank you for all y'all do for the city. We appreciate it. Our next item then would be Ms. Euchre, the Keep Victoria Beautiful May Business Beautification Award.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I am here today for us to recognize our May Beautification Award winner. And I have Beth Kuntz, who is our Vice Chair of Keep Victoria Beautiful, who will present the award.
Hello, Mayor and council members. Howdy, my name is Beth Kuntz, and like Christy said, I'm the Vice Chair of Keep Victoria Beautiful. Tonight, I am honored to present the Business Beautification Award for the month of May. And I actually went on our website and looked back to see how long we've actually been doing this, and I was kind of surprised to be reminded that we started back in June of 2021. So we have awarded quite a few Business Beautification Awards. So I'm glad and honored to continue with that. Tonight, we present the award to a deserving business. One of my favorites, which had no point of being nominated, was that because of that, but because of their beautification efforts, which looks cue to the next slide is, I would like you to help welcome or award the Pinto Bean on Main Street, the May Business Beautification Award. So a little bit about that Pinto Bean. It was established in 2005, the business itself, and they opened their location on Main Street in 2012. So that's one of 3 Pinto Beans here. We have 2 in Victoria, 1 in Edna. Our committee chose the Pinto Bean this month for a number of reasons. The property itself is very well maintained, and like I said, that is done by its staff, which is highly impressive. They typically have some festive, seasonal decor on their door, and those potted plants, like you see in the picture, are always just very beautiful, well maintained. The intersection of Main and Mockingbird is very heavily trafficked. Mostly people who are trying to avoid Navarro hit Main. And so a lot of people are passing by that business and stopping in for their wonderful food and great margaritas. So I'd like you to help me congratulate, Walfrey Vasquez, who is the manager of the Pinto Bean, for the May Business Beautification Award. Congratulations, and the mic is yours.
Just thank everybody for your business. Thank City of Victoria. Let's keep it beautiful. Thank y'all so much for supporting us all these years. And thanks to that one right there, Reina Contreras. She's the main one who does all the planning and buys all our stuff. And the decorations for Christmas and all that good stuff. Thank you.
Congratulations, well deserved. So item 2D then, looks like it has my name next to it. And very excited about this one. We have multiple special guests in the house tonight. And this is recognition of the 2023-24 Mayor's Youth Council. So just as a little bit of background, the Youth Council began in 2023 school year by Emily Dickerson and Katie Jane Kopecky, who wanted to find out a little bit more about local government, replicate this program from other cities. So for this year, the 23-24 year, we had 15 juniors and seniors from Victoria East High School, Victoria West High School, and St. Joseph High School that participated in the program to learn about city government, tour facilities, and input on current topics of interest, and perform community service as a group. And so because this class started under our former mayor, we've invited former Mayor Balknight back to congratulate this class and see them out. And also special guest Representative Jeannie Morrison is here also to have a presentation for them. So I will turn it over to you guys to take it from here.
Thank you, Mayor Crocker. I'm super proud of this group of students. They've shown true leadership. They're our future leaders throughout Victoria and through the state. I was very appreciative of Emily and Katie Jane coming to me back in 2022 and asking if we could start this. Those two ladies, I told them that I would love to support them. As you've probably learned, Mayor Crocker, time is precious, and I didn't have a lot of time to put in it. And those two ladies stepped up to the plate and really got this ball rolling. I think special recognition to Ms. Keisha Smith, who's really put a lot of structure into the program. The program consists of a lot of things that you've talked about, but also guest speakers that come in, like Representative Morrison and Congressman Cloud have come in and spoken to them about different levels of government. They've gotten an opportunity not only serve the community with different volunteer opportunities, that they also think of themselves and bring to fruition, but also learning about city departments and the rest of the staff that has taken the time to explain how the city government functions. I really appreciate y'all taking the time out of your day. And to recognize the Mayor's Youth Council, Mr. Crocker and I have signed some certificates. And thank you, Mayor Crocker, for letting me finish out this year with them and continue to participate with them. They hold a special place in my heart, and I'm very proud of all of y'all. I know y'all are gonna do just wonderful things in this world. And you want to say a few words and maybe call out their names, and I'll hand them this stuff? Yes, ma'am.
Certainly. I was so honored to be able to visit with this group and talk about state government, and we had a great conversation, and they were very knowledgeable and really smart young people that are in this group. But it was a very open conversation about what's happening and what's happening in the future. But the most important part was hearing what they thought and talk about what they thought about government and what they were learning and how excited they were to talk about government. And it's something that we all need to encourage so that we have voters that are informed and know what's happening and what's going on. But so we do have the certificates, and then also I brought a certificate from myself and a flag that's flown over the Capitol for each one of them. And so as we call their name, then they will come and be presented with their certificates and their flag. So the first one is Katie Jane Kopecky, who has been president. Katie. Luke Shopper, who is president-elect, coming up. Haley Truman, who has been the secretary. Aubrey Ross, communications chair. She's not here. Sorry, we missed Aubrey. And so the rest of the members of the Mayor's Youth Council, Elenia Longoria. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. We'll have them for them. We'll get them their certificates and their flags. Allison Schmidt. Benton Jecker. Carly DeDeer. There she goes. Love it. Denise Quezada. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Quezada. Diego Rodriguez. Diego's not here? Okay. Emily Vera. We like those Longhorns. Emmett Lee. Mia Mabry. Michael Shopper. And Thomas Tahira. Thomas is not here. Okay. Oh, you have some? Oh, yeah. No, go ahead.
Hi, as he's already mentioned, I'm Katie Jane Kopecki, and I'm the co-founder and president of this year's Mayor's Youth Council. I'm honored to be here speaking to all of you today, and I'm very proud of the work we've accomplished this year. I have thoroughly enjoyed our mini service projects from staining wood at the Texas Zoo to ringing bells outside of Sam's Club. I love the opportunities we've been given through our participation in the council. Meeting local politicians and getting involved in our community has expanded my horizons and helped me to become a better citizen, as I'm sure many of you can agree. Being a senior, I'm already starting to feel nostalgic over the time I've spent with all of my fellow members and our former mayor, Jeff Botnight, current mayor, Duane Crocker, and Miss Keisha Smith. We still don't know her job title, but we know she knows everything. This council, I'm so thankful to everybody that's made this council become a reality, and thankful to my fellow members for striving to make this Mayor's Youth Council better than I ever hoped it could be. Thank you.
Well, certainly, congratulations to all of you. A really great group of young men and women, and this is definitely a program that we look forward to, or I look forward to continuing going forward. So congrats and nothing but the best. All right. With that, then.
Mayor, I do have a brief recognition.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we recently had our new permanent Parks and Recreation Director join us.
Yes.
And so she is in her second week. And so I want to introduce her to you and to the public formally. Lisa Wube is our new Parks and Recreation Director. She is a native of Columbus, Ohio, and began her local government career in 2014 as sports director for the city of Evansville, Indiana. In 2019, she moved to Texas to become the assistant director with the city of Irving's Parks and Recreation Department. And in 2020, she became the Parks and Recreation Director for the city of Lancaster. As a former Division I women's basketball player who grew up participating in local neighborhood recreational programs, Lisa understands the value of sports tourism and recreational programming, which coincidentally are areas that we're trying to expand on. And so we look forward to having her both professional and personal experiences contribute to our team to help us move our Parks and Recreation programming into a new era. And so Lisa, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
I did warn her that I would expect her to say a few words, and so.
Mayor, City Council, City Manager, and just thank you for the warm welcome to the Victoria community. I have thoroughly enjoyed my first week. I look forward to just many more days of just well-being and health development all year long. I'm excited. I have a great team that I'm already working with. Steve, thank you again for getting me acclimated in such a short period of time. And thank you again for the warm welcome. Appreciate it.
Well, welcome. It's very good to have you. Thank you.
And
Mr. Garza, anything further?
Well, I'll just briefly say that, it goes without saying, I do want to publicly thank Mike Atian, who has served as interim Parks and Rec Director for what seems like forever, but I think was like 8 or 9 months. And so, Mike, thank you so much for serving in that capacity. I think it goes without saying that, the structure that we now have at this organization helps us be resilient, not only through things that we can't control, but also through just organic transitions that happen. And so I'm grateful for the executive leadership team that we have. And in this instance, specifically grateful to Mike for stepping up and helping ensure that we have that continuity with our Parks and Rec department. And so, Mike, thank you so much for that.
Great.
And lastly, Keisha Smith Tito is Special Projects Manager in the City Manager's Office.
But they're right, she does know everything.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Okay, very good, thank you. So items from council. Ms. Scott, I believe you had.
I do have
item.
one. Yes, I noticed an article in the Victoria Advocate, I think over the weekend, about somebody that had been riding an e-bike and was in a pretty significant accident. E-bikes are something that I've been concerned about for a while, wanting to understand them because they're bicycles. A lot of people have never heard of them, but they're bicycles that also have an electric motor to assist you. But they are not motorcycles, they're not mopeds, but they are bicycles. And so I wanted to ask staff, and I think Ms. Lacey's going to talk to us just a little bit about the law concerning e-bikes, because we did talk about golf carts a while ago, and I wondered if it would be appropriate to do something like that again, but it's not. She's going to tell us what the laws already are on the books about electric bikes.
Sure, absolutely. So electric bikes are classified under the transportation code, basically the same as bicycles, and that means that they are considered vehicles in Texas, and cyclists must follow the same rules as motorists. The most important rules that they have to follow are that they have to ride as close to the right-hand side of the road as possible, except when passing, preparing for a left-hand turn, or to avoid hazards. It is mandatory that bike riders wear helmets if they're under the age of 18. And they have to adhere to certain safety precautions such as reflectors and headlamps if they're going to be riding their bikes at night. And I think the most important thing to kind of emphasize is that e-bikes only go up to 28 miles an hour. They are different than mopeds. Mopeds can go much faster. However, they do have the same right to share the road as those in vehicles, motorcycles. So I will kind of echo what Ms. Hilberg said earlier when talking about motorcycles, is that is everyone's responsibility on the road, people in vehicles and people on e-bikes, to be aware of the laws, to pay attention to the area around them, and to know that everybody has the right to be there, but everybody also has the responsibility to make sure that they know what's next to them, ahead of them, behind them, so on and so forth. So that's pretty much e-bikes in a nutshell. Are there any questions?
I just want to add that they are also allowed to be on hike and bike trails, unless it's a completely off-the-road trail that's, kind of footpath only. So they kind of can cover both areas. They're going too fast on the hike and bike trails, and they're going not fast enough on the regular roadway, depending on your point of reference. So.
Absolutely, yes. Unless it's posted that they are not allowed to be on a specific trail, then they are welcome to be there as also.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a couple of items, if I can go ahead. So just initially, on behalf of the City Council, the City of Victoria, and our community as a whole, I wanted to take a moment to express our deepest sympathies following Dr. Jill Fox's recent, sudden, and tragic passing. It's obviously no secret to anyone that Dr. Fox was well-liked and well-respected within our community. She was what I would classify as a true community servant. That's evidenced by her years of dedicated contributions to numerous boards, committees, nonprofits, and charitable organizations. Her lifelong commitment to education and her support of our community and its citizens is obviously commendable. She will be deeply missed by all of us who knew her and were fortunate enough to work alongside her and call her friend. So I want to extend our most sincere and heartfelt condolences to the Fox family during this most difficult time. And if anyone would like to add, certainly you're welcome to.
I agree.
Thank you.
Same here.
Then I had one other item that I wanted to bring up as well. So council has received varied comments and questions from a variety of sources regarding a recent meeting of the Library Advisory Board, which took place without city staff. I want to assure everyone that this situation is in no way being ignored by council. To the contrary, I had begun the process of calling a special meeting of the council, which was to have been held on Tuesday, May the 30th, to specifically address this matter.
April 30th.
I'm sorry, April 30th, thank you. When I received the news, as we were scheduling that meeting, I received the news of Dr. Fox's tragic and sudden passing. I immediately made the decision to postpone that planned meeting. This was done out of respect for Dr. Fox, her family and friends, and to our community. At that point, acknowledging her life and contributions and mourning her loss was obviously the greater and more appropriate priority. My intention is to now reschedule that meeting for a time when all of council can be present to address the situation. It appears that such a time will be next Tuesday, May the 14th, and I have asked staff to take the appropriate steps to schedule and provide notice of a special meeting on that date, wherein we will canvass the votes from the most recent election and take up this item. I want to offer further assurances that there has been a considerable amount of time and effort devoted to the evaluation of this matter, and there will no doubt be additional time and effort expended before next week's meeting. As I have previously relayed to the community, council's intention is to evaluate the totality of the situation and then put in place an informed, measured, and responsible approach to identify an appropriate and positive path forward toward the end goal of a more collaborative and aligned relationship between council, the Library Advisory Board, and city staff. Any other items from council?
Yeah, I have something that I'd like to share with everybody out there. I had two friends recently visit me. One was from out of state and one was from out of the country. And I showed them all the sites. You name it, I showed them everything in Victoria. They loved it. And as we were driving around, one of them said to me, "You have a lot of churches in your town." And we do have a lot of churches, a lot of places of worship. We have one of the oldest synagogues in the state of Texas, and we have a mosque. And as I drove by the mosque, I thought for a minute, yeah, the mosque is beautiful, but there's two other things about it that to me are important. And one of them is, it was a time when everybody came together, all faiths came together to take care of a tragic thing that happened. But the other thing that's really important, and I think people lose sight of it, is somebody was feared something different than them. And they got angry, and it developed into hate. And then there was suffering because they burned down a place of worship. At the last meeting, there were a lot of people that got up and spoke. And some of those people were very angry. And I'd like to share something. Psalm 37:8. And the Psalms are written for all Western religions. The Psalms are important. And Psalm 37:8 is, "Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret. It leads only to evil doing." And when you think about being angry, I'd like you to think about those words. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Mr. Loughlin. Anyone else? Any other items from council? Okay. Seeing none, then we will move on to item B4, which is citizens communication. Just a reminder to please, out of respect for time for all speakers and all attendants, to keep your comments at 3 minutes. We would very much appreciate it. And our first guest this evening is Catherine Olson. Good evening, Ms. Olson.
Good evening. I too am an avid lover of the scriptures, and I appreciate you sharing that. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. First, I would like to say a few words about a fine lady, Jill Fox. She was patient, filled with loving kindness, and I had not known her long before I developed a fond affection for her. Despite her gentle nature, she was resolute when it came to meeting her obligations. I was one of the ones who approached her regarding the confusing new mission statement. To review, Our mission is to enhance our community's well-being by providing a welcoming space that prioritizes improving access and technology, fostering strong community support, inspiring personal development, and serving as a reliable anchor for our diverse community. But as Gay said, the library is not a health center or a church. I still prefer the mission statement that says VPL, Victoria Public Library, encourages a love of reading and commitment to literacy, provides materials and services that satisfy curiosity and stimulates imagination, develops programs that encourage the expression of creativity, and utilizes technology to support collaboration. Now, I would like to clarify one thing. There are some who say that since the last few board members were elected, there has been much conflict. Not to my knowledge, there hasn't been. Saying it doesn't make it so. There has, however, been what I have observed before even being elected to the library board, what I would call a shift. Suddenly, any efforts to advise or institute change, as is the library board's role, were rejected outright, whereas in the past, it was, sounds good, let's move on. Why? To put it simply and honestly, the new members have conservative worldviews, which is a good fit for our community. But there has been one problem. There is in place an effort for radical change in Victoria, and it doesn't matter that the few want it and the whole doesn't. How often have we seen this? It's quite common. Anyone who attends City Council and Library Board meetings and then reads the Victoria Advocate understands what I'm saying. Lastly, Jesus Garza's comments to the effect that we have disrespected the staff. I don't feel like that's true. The library board has worked well with Jessica and the staff in the past and plan on continuing to do so. We have a good relationship with the entire library staff. They too have been cooperative, and at Christmas we remembered the staff with cookies and a plant, and we've twice brought them cinnamon rolls. When an advisory board has conflicting opinions with library staff, I would think that that would not be unusual or considered unnecessarily hostile, but expected. A certain amount of tension is expected and almost required to achieve goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Olson. Next, I have Mr. Harley Fisk. Welcome, sir. As a matter of personal privilege, I'll tell you congratulations on your recent nuptials.
Well, thank you.
Certainly.
Mayor Crocker, City Council members, and interested citizens. First, I want to remind everyone that the Friends of the Library book sale begins on Sunday and runs through the following week. All right. At the last City Council meeting, I heard a lot about what some individuals feel should be the role of the church and respecting community values. I read that there are over 370 religious groups in the United States with over 350,000 congregations. Of these, about 68% are Christian. I am certain there are members of each of these groups that believe they are members of the one true religion. They differ in many ways. Some sing, some chant, some stay silent. Some dance to show their devotion, some forbid it for the same reason. Some drink, some abstain. For some, large group services are the norm, while others prefer solitude. What is right for some is wrong for others. Recently, the Methodist Church organization split over internal questions of theology. Right? That is why the U.S. has aimed for freedom for all those who wish to worship and all those who don't. Many of the first European settlers came to this land because of religious persecution where they came from. Perhaps if you were raised in one of the Christian sects, you might remember the quote from Jesus about the separations of church and state. Render under Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and under God the things that are God's. There are those who say that the library can't be an anchor for the community because the church is the ultimate anchor. But which church? Which denomination? Do they sing? Do they dance? Do they respect those who belong to another church or none at all? They also say the family should be an anchor. But what of those parts of the community that don't have a family that can provide that support? What about the unhoused, those who suffer from mental illness, those who were incarcerated, those who are old or lonely or different? What about the least of God's children? Who decides community values? If your values come from your religion, we're again faced with a which church question. In the end, who decides? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisk. Next, I have Ms. Sarah Zeller. Good evening, Ms. Zeller.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Zeller, Mayor Crocker, council members. Today is May 7th. It's now been 4 weeks since April 9th, when Mr. Garza emailed Jill Fox and the rest of the Library Advisory Board. It's been 4 weeks since he said the library director was not authorized to attend a meeting with us to discuss the mission statement. 4 weeks since he said library staff cannot talk to us in the future. 4 weeks since he said they cannot facilitate future meetings, and 4 weeks since he threatened to change our bylaws. He suggested no path forward, no way to smooth things over, only retaliation. This is setting a precedent for how other boards will be treated anytime they voice an opinion or give advice that is not first approved by Mr. Garza. Our board's only here to rubber stamp whatever staff has already decided to do. Is that the best use of our volunteers? This could have been very simple. Dr. Fox wanted a 1-hour conversation between the advisory board and the library director. A good faith effort could have been made to present the mission statement to the board, listen to their feedback, and discuss it with them before bringing it to the public. Instead, Mr. Garza responded with anger, threats, and intimidation. He has created a divide between citizens and local government that did not previously exist. It's been claimed that our input has been sought. In our November meeting, we were given about 20 minutes to give input into the mission statement. We did not have advance notice, no time to ponder or think about what the mission should be. We did our best to give input, but when we saw the mission statement in February, it was clear that our input was not used. The prior board set up subcommittees. The prior board called special meetings. They reviewed and revised policy. Their work was supported and their policies went into effect immediately. However, after a group of conservative community members were appointed to the board, one former board member told me, "Everything is handled differently now." In January of 2023, Mr. Garza tried to remove policymaking from the current board. This is likely still one of his goals with any bylaw changes. Mr. Garza told us he would make modifications to the bylaws after we voted on them, and that is the reason the board voted down bylaw changes at that time. How can we vote on bylaws when we know they aren't even final and we don't know what they will be after we vote? It's clear that citizen input is not wanted, and we're left with a few questions. What is the purpose of the board? Why do we have any advisory boards in Victoria? Are we only pretending that citizens have a voice here? Please help us all return to normalcy, where an advisory board is able to give honest feedback without retaliation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zeller. Next, I have Michael Vondera. Good evening, Mr. Vondera.
Good evening, sir, council, mayor. I'm Michael Vondro. I live at 2204 East North Street. My condolences to Dr. Fox, and I appreciate her contribution to the community, and she was president of the Library Advisory Council. I just wanted to talk to you about Christ Kitchen. There's a lot of violence over there. Just on May the 3rd, there was assault, and, you know, the police made an arrest. I do appreciate the police's effort. I know they make patrols regularly at Queen City and Christ Kitchen. And, you know, 8 months ago, there was a shooting there, and she plea bargained and got 5 years in prison. And I was just wondering, you know, why they can't move Christ Kitchen to a safer place, you know, where there's not so much crime. You know, there's lots of stuff going on over there, and, you know, there's debris and litter all over the place. And, you know, I wish someone could go over there and clean it up and make it better. Thanks, and have a good evening. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vondera. And finally, I have Ms. Gay Patek. Good evening, Ms. Patek.
Good evening. Greetings, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Gay Patek, and I'm a Library Advisory Board member. At this time, I would like to thank Mr. Ray Fox for supporting his wife, Dr. Jill Fox, in her role as chair of the Library Advisory Board. Jill's entire life work was focused on children, education, and early childhood development. She didn't need a position on the Library Advisory Board, but she chose to apply for the position because she cared about the children in our community. She recognized how harmful and damaging age and content inappropriate books are to the developing mind of a child. I would like to remind everyone why we were placed on the board. It all started 3 years ago with an outcry from our community about age and content inappropriate books and materials being purchased with our taxpayer dollars and made available for children and teens. I'd like to give our community a small update on what happened to the 42 original books that local residents requested a reevaluation of content and placement in our library. Out of the 42 books, only 2 books were moved to a different location in the library. Victoria needs a children's area that is actually safe for children. People claim parents should choose books for their children, but they aren't willing to listen to parents who say the unsafe material should be in a different area in the library. Parents want to screen those items first. Parents want their children to be able to browse through the children's section and pull anything off the shelf and flip through a book without concern. No children or no child should be exposed to age and content inappropriate books simply because they enter the children's section of a library. As board members, along with the memory of Dr. Jill Fox, our role is to speak for the regular citizen, the taxpayer, and the library patron. We bring their perspective to every meeting we attend. We are not only board members, but we are also citizens, taxpayers, and library patrons ourselves. We each have a unique community within Victoria, and we listen to feedback and concern from other citizens. We love Victoria, we love our library, and we love the role that reading can play in the development of individuals and a society. We want to improve our local library for the benefit of our entire community, and a good place for it to start is its mission statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patek. And I believe that concludes then citizen communications. So we'll move on to items with public hearings and begin with item C1.
Item C1 is an ordinance amending Chapter 21, the Unified Development Ordinance of the City of Victoria Code of Ordinances.
Good
The item
evening.
is on first reading, I'm sorry.
So I have just a quick 2-hour presentation about our unified, no, I'm teasing. I promise I'll try and keep this quick. I know that ordinance text can be very dry, but just a refresher, as you know, we, council adopted this ordinance back in February, and we have been implementing it since then, and there are parts of it that are just working, and most of it actually is working amazingly, especially the site modification permit, which has eliminated a lot of required site plans. I think people are very appreciative of that. We, of course, have the opt-out option where folks can opt out and use the ordinance as it existed on January 1st until June 1st. And the opt-outs that we're seeing are the ones that we anticipated. The opting out to not install the dumpster enclosures with new services, or not require the general liability insurance for general contractors. So the things that add costs that we knew were adding costs, but we do feel were important to Victoria. So we're seeing a lot of folks opt out of those, and of course that opt out will end on June 1st. So, and as promised, when we went through this process, we knew that the FEMA floodplain maps were being adopted by FEMA this summer, and so we had some required changes that were to be made to our floodplain section of the ordinance, and so that really was what prompted all of these. And as we we're updating the floodplain section, we decided we'd take the time to make some of these clarification sections that have pretty much all come from staff and a lot of their questions, just clarifying information. So I'll start. The first is on our land use table. We inadvertently deleted parking requirements for manufactured home parks. They were in original versions, and you know that document is so massive with all the track changes. I think they just got deleted once in one of those versions, and that was definitely not our intent. So we added back that there are parking requirements for manufactured home parks, and you'll see a lot of these amendments are these type of just typos or clarifications. I mean, that's really beyond a typo, but it was never intended to not require parking for manufactured home parks. And then the second is a reference to the TABC regulations. We added those TABC references to nightclubs and lounges and left off bars, but the TABC rules apply to any alcohol sales, so we wanted to make sure it was consistent. The next section is in the actual use-specific standards of the land use section. Our old ordinance had a planned shopping center designation, and that's whenever you have, several parcels, but they function as one because of shared, driveways or access easements, parking. So a good example would be like the Kohl's Shopping Center or the Aldi's Shopping Center. Most people don't realize that those are many lots that comprise those centers because they function as one. And so this code allows us to do some reductions on lot width and some standards whenever you have a parcel or a couple parcels that are acting as one without a variance. So it still does require planning commission approval. Like I said, we've used this a lot in the past with those two centers that and other centers that I've mentioned. And so we wanted to bring that back because it did not make it into the new ordinance. And then J is, again, just that reference. There was questions from our planners. Well, do we eliminate the TABC requirements for bars? Because we listed them for nightclub and lounge, and obviously that wasn't the case. We just wanted to make sure it was very clear, and a lot of that is that these changes are those clarifications. The most changes that you'll see when it comes to historic districts, I think we were so focused on understanding or talking about, do we want to require more regulation in historic districts? Do we want to require certificate of appropriatenesses or people what they can and can't change, that we just kind of glossed over the basics? And one of these is the names of the historic districts. So we have actually the original townside district, which everybody refers to as downtown. It's bounded by East and West Streets, north and then water. That's not called the downtown historic district historically. It's the original townside historic district. And then the downtown business district is the yellow on the map, and that's that kind of corresponds with our fire district, and that's more of the commercial core of our downtown. And the rules are a little different. So we fixed the names, and then on E, that was actually supposed to say there's no maximum height limit. There is a minimum height limit because you have ceiling minimums in the building code. But really, we're not limiting height. You can build as tall as you want in that downtown business district. This is a pretty simple one. An accessory dwelling units for residential. We meant to say it's supposed to be one unit. We don't mean for accessory dwelling units to be duplexes or triplexes. It's just a unit, and so there was confusion. When it says shall have one dwelling unit, it should be a maximum of one dwelling unit. We don't want like those duplexes, fourplexes, triplexes to be accessory structures because it's not really accessory to a principal use of a single family home then. This is, like I said, the big change, the big oops. We actually left out 3 historic districts, so we're just copying and pasting them back in. That was 9 Rivers, College Park, and then changing and specifically calling out the downtown business district because there's a little bit different regulations. Existing structures is a code that we had in our old ordinance that didn't get carried over that we thought would be beneficial to carry over. And that's when you're platting a lot that already is developed out and there are existing structures on it that don't meet setback requirements. We can, again, with Planning Commission's approval, we can adjust those setbacks and it wouldn't be a variance. And that was flexibility that our old code allowed for us to have, so we brought it forth in this section. Parking standards, as you know, we eliminated them in downtown business and original town site districts. However, we want to clarify that if you are going to provide off-street parking, it does have to meet the dimensional and construction standards of the rest of the parking section of our ordinance. Then on dumpster enclosures, it says containers shall be placed within a refuse or dumpster enclosure. If you read the refuse or dumpster enclosure section, it says that it's shall be enclosed within a fence and be on concrete. But one of my planners was having difficulty on an enforcement issue with this, and so we wanted very clear: in no circumstances shall containers be placed on an unpaved surface, which is what a dumpster enclosure is. This is also just an oversight of something we wanted to be very clear in our on the new ordinance. We have long required signs over 25 feet to be sealed by an engineer because of our wind lows. So that's actually buried in the building code because signs over 25 feet are structures, and structures required to be engineered when we're in our wind zone. But sometimes the sign contractors kind of push back on that. And so Rick has to dig out the actual ICC building codes and walk them through it. And so we just wanted to make it very explicitly clear in the local ordinance in the sign section, which is where, the sign designers are going to look, that those signs over 25 feet have to be engineered. Improvements required. So this was a big change in administration, essentially. Our old ordinance said that the utilities shall have a logical layout and construction of utilities. So we wanted to be a little bit more specific. The intent is to and through. We don't want lots to be hostage because there's not availability to utilities. But there are exceptions when it doesn't make sense for you to and through. If the utilities, especially sewer, there's not a depth that is adequate to serve some of the lots from a certain way, and corner lots there can be too much of a cost burden on to and through for corner lots. And so we expanded this to say that really it's the city engineer's discretion on if it doesn't need to go all the way to and through. The city engineer has some flexibility to pull back and say, okay, that to and through is not actually required for extenuating circumstances, when engineering basically shows that it's not necessary. So this is the section that prompted the entire review, our updates, as we've been, keeping tab of things that are confusing to bring back, and because we knew we had to bring it back because of the floodplain regulations. So as you know, FEMA gave us notice that they are adopting the preliminary maps that have been published since 2006. They will go into effect July 17th, 2024, and there's some other changes. One is on permit procedures. For floodplains, you have to build above the base flood elevation, or the BFE, and so one way to make sure that those BFEs are being met is to require a form board survey. So you have to survey at the end of a project to close out your floodplain project, and that's a requirement of FEMA. And when FEMA audits us, they make sure that we have those surveys and certifications. And so form board surveys, basically, they survey the forms before the framing goes up to make sure. Because once the framing goes up and the house is built, to then raise that foundation to a higher BFE becomes much costlier than if we catch it when the forms, the foundation forms are being formed up. And so it's another step for the surveying, but it could prevent a lot of problems down the road. This is just an expansion on what 21-288A already says. So if you read the first part, it says that encroachments, of course, are prohibited, but if you are going to do an encroachment in a floodplain, it has to be demonstrated through a hydrologic and hydraulic analysis that it's, conforming to standard engineering practices. So what the red portion is kind of expanding on what we mean by that analysis. That basically, that analysis has to say there will be a no rise, no impact certification, and that supporting technical data has to be submitted. This is going to be the no impact or no changes to the 25-year or 100-year base flood elevation. So it already said it, but we had a lot of questions of what do you want that those analysis to say, and so we just expanded on what we're looking at when we say we need a no rise, no impact certification. So that gets us through the floodplain requirements. The next is in the procedures. This is actually just flipping 3 and 4. So 3 originally says that 6 corrected sets of site plans shall be submitted once a site plan has gone through review. And so folks were getting red lines, making some changes, submitting 6 sets, but they weren't. But then we would have to review those corrections, and it wasn't the approved set. And we don't want 6 sets of a draft plan. We want 6 sets of the final. And so by just flipping 3 and 4, I think it clarifies that process a little bit more, that you get through the red line process, and then you give us the 6 sets. The site plan, signed site plan section also had problems in that they basically copied the site plan requirements for signs, and we don't require a full site plan for signs. And so we drastically changed the sign requirements to match what we require. And for a sign package, we require, of course, those detailed drawings of the sign, and then a simple plot plan that shows where on the property that sign is going to be located. And so the review and approval has a lot of red lines, basically to really simplify and say for a sign permit, that's what we want, is we want a simple plot plan and, the application and then the sign plans. And that concludes all of the proposed changes. So we did pretty good for a several 100-page document. There weren't too many errors and omissions.
No, I was going to say, it's difficult when you just see the change, but if you look at those in context, I think those changes help clarify quite a bit. And for as thick as that document was, it's to be expected that we need to clean up a few things. It turns out words matter, and
Yes.
which order you put them in sometimes.
Especially
Yes.
in an ordinance. I recognize it's really dry to go through, but like you said, in ordinance form, those words are really important. So we need
Sure,
to go through this exercise.
And Mayor, if it's okay, just a couple of thoughts. One is, as she mentioned and was mentioned in the AIM, that all of these did go through the Planning Commission, and so they vetted them more thoroughly and approved them as well. But then second, there's also still a couple of lingering items that we still plan to address and take up at some point. One of them being what we want to do with the parkland dedication piece of it, and the potential fee in lieu of that could be associated with that. We still have to have that conversation at some point. And then second, the mobile food truck component of it. You may recall that Julie recommended when that topic came up that we should put together a committee made up of representatives from the city, of course, the health department, and potentially a few others to really take a deep dive into that. Excuse me. And so we still plan on pursuing those 2 paths. We haven't forgotten about them, and I want to make that clear. But it'll take a little bit of time to develop the framework for those conversations for those 2 items.
The food truck committee has met a few times, but like Jesus said, there's a lot of different folks that have an interest in that, and so it's a large committee, so it might take a little bit.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Fulgham before we open the public hearing? Okay. With that, then, I will open the public hearing on item C1. If you would wish to speak to this matter, please come forward. Seeing none, I will then close the public hearing and entertain any motions with respect to item C1.
Motion to approve item C1.
Second.
I've got a motion and second on C1. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item C1 passes. First reading, correct? Yes. Okay. All right. Then we will move on to, where are we at? D, the consent agenda. Ms. Hilberg.
Yes, sir. Item D1 is adoption of minutes of the regular meeting held on April 16th, 2024. Item D2 is an ordinance vacating, closing, and abandoning an alley in its entirety in Block 89 of the North Heights edition of the City of Victoria in response to the petition of 100% of the adjoining landowners. This item is on second and third reading. Item D3 is a resolution approving the purchase of a 350 horsepower motor from Lewis Electric Motors and Pumps for the surface water treatment plant in the amount of $95,500. Item D4 is a resolution approving the purchase of Avigilon surveillance camera system from VCS Security Systems for the surface water treatment plant in the amount of $95,816.41. Item D5 is a resolution approving the purchase of 179 water meter measuring chambers from Third Kettle Corporation DBA Aquametric Sales Company in the amount of $209,974.21. And item D6 is a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Victoria Engineering DBA Urban Engineering for design services for the Anthony Road Sanitary Sewer Line Replacement Project in the amount of $192,700.
Thank you, Ms. Hilbert. I'll entertain any motions with respect to the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Consent agenda passes. Moving on then, I see Assistant City Manager, Mr. Etienne, moving into position for item E1.
Item E1 is a resolution approving a contract to Public Restroom Company to provide a turnkey construction project for the restroom facility at Ethel Lee Tracy Park in an amount not to exceed $316,884.
I think we're gonna put Lisa on the spot, right? Have her come up? Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, welcome to week 2.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I've got a short presentation today. So, as you know, the Parks Master Plan recommends significant upgrades to Ethel Lee Tracy Park. We have 17 city parks in our system today, and Ethel Lee Tracy is one of our most popular parks, one of the most visited parks in the city. So Ethel Lee Tracy serves the north part of the city. It sits on 30.5 acres, and the land was actually donated to the city back in 1994 by Ms. Ethel Lee Tracy. And then the city built the park in 2000. And we named the park after Ms. Ethel Lee Tracy. Now, the park has numerous wonderful features and amenities: large playground, amphitheater, tennis courts, fishing pond, 9-hole disc golf course, and of course, a splash pad. And I am delighted to report that the splash pad is now open. As you know, the splash pad has been closed since May of last year. So thank you to the Cloyd and Ethel Lee Foundation for helping fund the renovation of the splash pad. So I went there Sunday, and it was just packed with people, with children just enjoying the splash pad. So thank you again to the Cloyd and Ethel Lee Foundation. This slide is the master plan for Ethel Lee Tracy Park. So during the master planning process, the residents participated heavily, and they recommended 26 items for improvements to the park. The top 3 were: 1, the need an additional bathroom, especially between the splash pad and the playground. The second is additional parking and traffic circulation and connectivity. As you can see on the master plan, currently there's only 1 entrance and 1 exit into Ethel Lee Tracy Park. So it gets very congested traffic-wise when you go to the park. So what we are trying to do to address that, as you can see in the master plan, is to acquire land from the adjacent property so we can have a circular drive where you can have 1 entrance and also 1 exit. So with regards to the bathroom, the residents, when they participated in the planning process, specifically said that we need to have a restroom that serves the playground and the splash pad. So today, I'm here to say we are implementing that with this item. So after a competitive proposal process, we selected Public Restroom Company to build the restroom as a turnkey project. Now, PRC is the same company that built the Lone Tree bathroom, the Lone Tree Park bathrooms, as well as the community park bathrooms. So we do have experience with that company, and we are very pleased with those 2 bathrooms. So if this item is approved, Mayor and Council, So we will sign a contract with PRC, and they will do the following. They will design the restroom, construct the slab and utilities. They will build an ADA-compliant prefab restroom building with one room for men and one for women. Each room will be single occupancy and equipped with a baby changing station. So single occupancy means one person at a time. And it will also have a cantilever overhang to protect you from the rain. So that's something that we've heard from the residents when they participated in the master plan. And then finally, it will have 2 drinking water fountains, you can see them in the picture, and 1 bottle filling station. Also, a public restroom company will build a 5-foot wide sidewalk, 115 feet long, connecting the playground to the splash pad. And that's because we do not want the children or the visitors to walk on the grass. So that sidewalk will connect the 2 major amenities. So the total contract is $316,884, and half of it is coming from the Chloride and Ethylene Foundation, $159,888 to be specific. And once again, thank you to the Chloride and Ethylene Tracy Foundation. Thank you, Ms. Scott, for serving on that foundation, and we really appreciate the continued support to Ethylene Tracy. So now, on-site construction will start in September, and we are very, diligent in that. We want to start the construction after Labor Day, because that's when school is back in session. So we want to make sure that the children can enjoy the park and the splash pad and the playground while school is out. So we will begin construction after Labor Day. And also the splash pad and the playground will remain open during the construction. We'll just put a barricade around the construction. Now, we expect construction to be completed by December 2024. So it should be a very short timeline to get this done. It's not a very difficult project. So with all that said, Mayor and Council, staff recommends approval of this contract with Public Restroom Company.
Thank you, Mr. Etienne. Are there any questions? Mr. Lofgren.
The balance of the cost will come from the Victoria Sales Tax Corporation, am I correct?
Comes from the general fund and partially sales tax, yes, sir.
How much of each? Is it all Sales Tax Corporation? No?
We can find out for you.
Yeah, if we can't pull that up now, we can send it to you afterward.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I move we adopt.
Second.
We've got a motion and second on item E1. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item E1 passes. Thank you, Mr. Etienne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Then moving on then, city manager reports. Mr. Garza.
We don't have any plan for this evening.
Okay, very good. We do have an executive session, I understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then we will adjourn into executive session. We will take it is 6:13, we will take a 10-minute break and then reconvene in executive session.
The City Council will recess for executive session on the 7th day of May, 2024. Subject matter is as follows: Texas Government Code 551.087, 551.071, and 551.072.